All right. Well, Joost, thank you so much. This is a very, very exciting time to be talking to you. I actually feel honored that at the dawn of this rebirth of the Delorean brand, I get to personally ask you all about it. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank everybody else for being here and allowing us to talk to our story. Look forward to it.
All right. Well, I guess let's jump right in because we all want to know all about the new Delorean. So, starting with the basics, why bring back Delorean? Why is it the right time now to bring the brand back versus some of the other planned launches from several years back? I mean, we've heard in the past about Delorean coming back in the past. It's never happened, but now here we are. So, tell me about it.
I think the brand itself, Delorean, never left the market. So Delorean lived on in Playmobil, Lego, online games. So the brand never left. They just didn't build cars. I think the technology today is allowing us to bring a vehicle that we can be proud of and does the brand justice. So today's the right time.
Okay, all right. So what is the new Delorean company's mission?
The new mission for us is to create a new icon, slowly build up, and bring that joy of driving back. We basically want to be the antithesis of an iPad on wheels. So that is really what is important to us.
Okay, great. So we saw pictures of the new Alpha 5 this week. I think the entire world was very, very excited to see it, and there's been a tremendous amount of very positive feedback about the way the car looks. And in looking at the car, there's a few design cues from the original DMC-12, but it's excuse me, but it's not a direct port of the original car. So is there a reason you did not capitalize on the early DMC-12 story from the early 80s and continue the DMC-12 design language with a modern interpretation?
That was the biggest challenge we had in the beginning. If you take the DMC-12 from the 80s as a moment in time, it is not that complicated to bring that 40 years forward, but that's not what the brand allowed us to do. So we actually had to go back in time and see what would the DeLorean be in 1990, what would the DeLorean be in 2000, what would it be in 2010, and then we were able to bring the car to what you see today. It is a 40-year evolution of what the brand would have been.
Right. And to that end, we've heard about these generational vehicles. To that very point, that sort of illustrate this sort of history of the brand going from the DMC-12 until now. So that's a really interesting approach to relaunching this brand and in telling the story of this reborn brand. So tell me more about these generational vehicles and what the intention of doing these generational vehicles is.
Yeah, when we started to discover the history of the brand, we went back to Italy, to the original designer, Giugiaro. And we found out that he and his son Fabrizio never stopped designing DeLoreans. Then we went to the design house that did the original DeLorean, which is ITEL Design, and they never stopped designing DeLoreans, even though the brand was not there. So when we went into the archives, we found a coupe, we found a sedan, we found the ideas of an SUV, we found a city bus, we found an airport tug. So there was so much history that was available to us that allowed us to actually build that legacy up over those 40 years.
Mm-hmm. So when will we be able to see these generational vehicles?
We launched the coupe now. I think over the next 60 days you'll see all three generational vehicles come. You'll see a 1990 gas-powered coupe. You'll see a four-door electric-powered sedan from the 2000s, and you'll see a SUV hydrogen-powered from the 2010s.
Okay, this is again. This is such a unique approach to building a brand story by designing and showing, the sort of a hypothetical evolution of the brand that brings you to where you are today. And where you are today is something, something very new, something very innovative. It's obviously all electric. But I also understand there's some other innovative and interesting things you're doing with the launch. Something involving NFTs. Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, we have so much interest in the brand, and we're going to produce a very limited quantity of coupes. So rather than always, as a brand, have to say no to a consumer who wants to have a specific VIN or a specific build year, we're going to launch an NFT that is associated with the production and a gameable avatar. And we're going to do a lottery because we have way too much interest in the car versus what we're going to build. So by the time we launch the car, you won't be able to pre-order, but you can be part of the lottery to mint your NFT, which is associated with an avatar that has a random VIN number. And that gets you to a car. And that means we as a brand don't have to always say no. We can point and say, go to the secondary market and see if you can buy your VIN.
Okay, so in a lot of ways, it sounds like you're sort of democratizing access
Yes,
to these early cars.
absolutely.
Okay, so basically, you show up with $1 million, and that's not gonna
not gonna
get
work.
you further up in line.
Exactly, that's not going to work. It is if you're an enthusiast and you're part of the lottery and you happen to be able to mint your NFT, you got a car in the future.
Okay, all right. Tell me about who you see as the driver of the Alpha 5. Well, actually, let me back up. Who's the Delorean customer? Who is the customer type that is going to be really captivated by this brand and going to want to be a hand raiser?
I think there's two answers to the question. On the coupe side, it is the person that is lost in time. We are very much pushed today to an autonomous world, hyper efficient. The drive from A to B is a waste of time and I'm giving you time back. We want to be the opposite of that. The drive is your decompression time. This is all about the driver. So the people who will enjoy the coupe the most, the launch car that we have, will be the people who really enjoy driving. I think when you go to our future products, it will be much more mass products. That will be much more into people who love the design, love our connectivity on a human level, and that demographic will skew more towards a younger crowd. But right now the coupe is for people from all ages who truly enjoy the drive. You will have an off button on your autonomous. You'll have an off button on your radar-based cruise control, because that's not about the drive. That is about AI taking over from you as a human. We want the AI to be supporting the human, but not controlling the human.
Okay, all right. So basically, the key word I'm hearing is off switch.
Yes.
So from what I'm hearing, the coupe, the Alpha 5, will have some level of autonomous drive technology, some level of ADAS feature integration, but you can turn all that off.
Yes, absolutely. It is. I'm driving a brand today where you don't have an off switch, so I'll never use cruise control anymore. It's I need that off switch. A lot of people need that off switch.
Right. Okay. So right now, the EV market is truly emerging into mass market space, and that's exciting for all of us. I mean, for the last 10, 20 years, we've all been here very enthusiastic about electrification and excited about the promise that it holds. And finally now, we're at the point where we have true mass market EVs coming into the marketplace. Electric models are some of the most talked about by the public. So, but at the same time, it's also the Wild West because there's so much newness happening. There are so many different new products and brands coming into this space, including Delorean. There are numerous startups, along with legacy automakers, that are bringing all kinds of new products and ideas to the table. So what are some of the white space opportunities you see for Delorean, not just with the Alpha 5, but for the brand?
I like the concept of having more people in the marketplace. Choice is amazing for consumers. We just heard from the previous speaker, there's going to be 87 different vehicles available in the US market by year end. That needs to be 487. It is, the more the better. I mean, if you look at the penetration of electric vehicles today, it's still very low. Europe is way ahead of the US because of their energy costs. There's so much space for people to jump in. Our white space in the market is try to make that human connection. The first patents we as a company earned are actually fully related to how to connect the human to the vehicle. And it's not about drowsiness of your eyeballs and the car tells you to take a cup of coffee, but it is more like how can I replicate the body temperature of my significant other in my car seat? How can I bring my true north, which is my home, always in front of me in the vehicle? So our white space will be for the driver. Our white space is for people who want to be connected on a human level. The car is there, it has the technology, yes, it has autonomous 2.5. that's a given in today's market. But what do you do more? How do you connect the human back into the driving experience? Autonomous level 4, level 5, it's coming. I dread the day in 20 years when we're all driving in a teardrop-shaped car that goes automatic. It just creates more time to do more work. No, the drive is your decompression time. That is our white space.
Okay, that makes that makes perfect sense to me. And you talk about bringing that human element to driving. Is that does that have anything to do with the reason why the Alpha 5 is a 4-seater as opposed to just a 2-seater as the original DMC-12 was? Is it about kind of sharing that experience with others?
I have a great marketing answer, but the truth is no. If you package a 100 kilowatt plus battery pack into a vehicle, your wheelbase will be big. You don't have a choice.
Yes.
Once you have a big wheelbase, you need to start looking at your design to see if the overhangs to the vehicle are in proportion to the vehicle. And what we found is that the amount of interior space in the vehicle was so large, it didn't make any sense not to make it a 2+2. But it's not a 5-seater. It is that we are pretty extreme on our greenhouse. So the back 2 seats, they're perfectly capable for my 12-year-old to sit in, but I don't fit. So it was, because we had so much space, it was logical to do it. But it's not really a full 4-seater. It is a 2+2.
Okay, but still, it's even if you can't fit really large people in the back, it's still a shareable experience.
Absolutely, totally, completely. And given the quietness inside the vehicle, you can actually have a conversation too.
Right. Actually, the more I think about it, it's interesting to hear that the fact that it's a 4-seater really wasn't about. It was really more driven by engineering and design. But I think also, with the target buyer, we've actually over the last 10 years, 15 years, really been seeing a decline in popularity of 2-seat sports cars. I mean, it's even driving enthusiasts, by and large, these days tend to prefer vehicles where they can share that experience with others. So the fact that the Alpha 5 experience is shareable with more than just one passenger, to me, I think is a real plus. I think that'll resonate really well in the marketplace.
Yeah, you have to remember that if I'm a business person, we're stupid to launch a coupe because it's a small market, it has limited appeal, but the brand dictated it. I'd love to start with an SUV, but if we would be sitting here today and we would launch Delorean as an SUV, a lot of people would tell us, no, that doesn't work. So it was a logical choice for us.
Okay, well, you just mentioned the word SUV. Is that a hint about what we might be able to see in the future from Delorean?
It's a logical next step, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're with the Delorean brand, we're ultimately thinking about a full portfolio of vehicles, a full lineup.
Yeah, if you see what we are going to present in Pebble Beach in August, it is basically 40 years of Delorean plus the future of the next 35. And an SUV will fit in that portfolio.
Okay, and do you expect the SUV to probably be the volume seller of the brand ultimately?
Yeah, the SUV is the largest growing segment in the world, bar none in every region of the world. It is the logical place for us to grow. What segments we're not ready to disclose, what size we're not ready to disclose, but it's the logical next step for any brand.
Okay, all right, sounds good. You probably can't answer this question, but will it have gull-wing doors?
No, I can answer you that, no.
Got it. All right, so developing a new vehicle, any new vehicle, and especially an EV, it's a very capital-intensive exercise. It's expensive. It's not an easy task. Is Delorean doing all of this R&D and design and development all alone, or are you working with any other major established suppliers or design houses to bring this new car to reality?
I'll step back a little bit in history. From my experience, when I was with another electric car company 10, 15 years ago, there was no supply base. So everything had to be vertically integrated. You had to do everything yourself. That was very capital intensive, very slow, and very expensive. But today, if you look at the market today, if you want to buy an excellent electric motor for an electric vehicle, you have 12, 13 suppliers you can pick from. 10 years ago, that was 2. So as models get better, as volumes get bigger, there's a much better opportunity for startups like ourselves to actually go to the market and buy components. You need a large parts bin to pick from. Even the most popular first electric vehicle you saw out there in the market in 2012, the switchgear was all Mercedes-Benz. And that was logical because you're not capable of developing every little component. I don't want to spend money in developing a seat belt or a doorknob. So you have to go into a parts bin of somebody else and buy pre-validated parts. And yes, we have some very big groups behind this that will help us on the parts side.
Okay, excellent. Tell me, I want to talk a little bit about the design of the car. Obviously the design has been very well received. It's very exciting. And I understand that Delorean partnered with someone else, with a very famous design house to come up with this design. So tell me a little bit about that partnership and who it is you're working with.
Yeah, the design is made by ITEL Design and ourselves. ITEL Design used to be owned by a gentleman called Giugiaro, also very famous in the automotive world. He sold this to the Volkswagen Group some time ago. The Volkswagen Group closed that company down for external customers because they were way too busy with Porsche and Audi and Bugatti and all the other brands that they have. And a few years ago, they opened it back up for third parties. We came into contact with them through Giugiaro, and the amount of interest in that organization for redoing or helping us make a new car was just insane. I mean, they opened up all the archives, we found all the old drawings. There was one good story there that the interior designer group, the grandfather, the father, and the son all worked on DeLorean. So 3 generations of interior designers. And when you have that type of history, that type of legacy, that type of passion, especially in Italy, which is still, in my opinion, one of the largest design powers in the world from an automotive perspective, it was a super logical choice for us.
Wow, very cool. Do you see Delorean continuing to work with ITEL Design in the future?
Yeah, I mean, if a partnership is that deep and that positive, if you've seen what we've done over the last year together as a group, and the result of that is Alpha 5, yeah, I see many more beautiful things coming from that relationship.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Right now, there's a lot of talk about EVs going hand in hand with the idea of autonomous shared transportation, and there's a lot of very exciting aspects to that. Theoretically, that equates to potentially a lot less congestion in cities, and ultimately may ultimately mean less personal car ownership. So how will a personal sports coupe like Alpha 5 fit into that future?
It doesn't. That's the shortest way I can answer. I think, again, our production volumes with our Halo car are small. Our ambitions with other models we're following up with are obviously much higher. But we needed that Halo car. That Halo car is not about autonomous. It's not about fitting in. It is probably not the primary driver for many households that buy that car. It is, in many cases, for them, a congratulatory purchase. And it's a damn cool car. Right. But the fitting in of the brand into autonomous, into the shared economy, is more applicable when you get more into mass market products at a different price point. SUVs, which is more shareable, more space, more utility. And that is not what the brand is today. We first need to launch that Halo car and show the world what we're capable of before we can go to a more approachable platform. Okay,
all right, excellent. That's, I often wonder about that myself, where, in this, I'm a car enthusiast, you're a car enthusiast, we love the act of driving, the future does involve situations where we may not be actively driving as much anymore. So it does, as a car enthusiast, I always ask myself the question, how does that personal desire to drive fit in with, a lot of the autonomous technologies and driving environments that we may see in the future. So that's for you
I
to think
think
about.
what you're seeing in certain areas now, especially in Europe, where the congestion is even higher in certain areas, is that you'll start seeing mandatory autonomous driving on certain stretches of highway. It's coming. So vehicle to grid, vehicle to X technologies, autonomous level 4 and 5 will become standardized in the in the products that we sell. It's not something for us today. I think there are so many, the technical barriers are getting solved, the legislative barriers are nowhere near being solved.
True.
The consumer perception, the safety of a consumer, how they feel about those technologies is not settled yet. It is coming. We will have that teardrop that does A to B all on its own. I hope it's a very long way away.
Well, and it's funny though. In some ways, when I think about it, we are right where we are. We're located to the infamous 405 freeway, one of the most congested and unpleasant freeways to drive around during rush hour. There's, to me, in some ways, I don't really consider sitting in traffic in the 405 to really be driving. That's more like suffering, really. But perhaps this gets back to your point about having an off button. Perhaps when I'm just commuting to the office, stuck in traffic, I want the car to do that for me because that's not really fun. That's not really driving. But take all the traffic away, get me on an open road, and yeah, I want to drive.
I think that is where we will position ourselves very strongly. That off button, as long as we're legally allowed to turn it off, we will be able to turn it off.
Okay. So I see we're getting close to the end of our discussion. I guess I'd like to ask you: is there anything else we should know about Delorean or the Alpha 5, or maybe some hints that you can leave us with to whet our appetites for the near future?
We had a 2.5-hour podcast with the owners of the original Delorean last Sunday, because that group kept this brand alive like nobody else. And over the 2.5 hours, we were discussing with original Delorean employees, with owners today that have been with the brand for 30 years. And when they saw how careful we were in going over 40 years with all the generational vehicles and what it culminates in today, I think we got the endorsement from that group, and that was really, really important. That also allows us now to go further to the future. A lot is being said about battery electric vehicles, and I think battery electric vehicles in the current technology is the only answer possible today. I think in the future you'll see us very quickly pivot to hydrogen. It will always be electric drive, obviously, but the amount of investment in Europe now, especially with the war in Ukraine, in hydrogen infrastructure is going to explode. And as long as we get to green hydrogen fast, I think we're overcoming some of the technical incapabilities of battery, like charging, weight, cost. And that transition will happen probably quicker than people imagine. And I think what you'll see next from us is obviously another product in a more mass market segment, without naming many words. But you'll also see different approaches to technology. Green is clean, but clean has multiple solutions. And we cannot be pivoted or cannot be pigeonholed into a single technology choice of batteries today. There's more out there. And if you look at material developments, how fast that goes, material applications, it's a super exciting time to be in. I mean, the industrial revolution that previous speaker talked about is real. It's going unbelievably fast, and it's super exciting.
Very cool. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're kind of bullish on hydrogen.
Absolutely, totally.
Okay. No, that's very exciting. I mean, I think obviously I agree with you that right now we've most of the discussion surrounding electrification of vehicles really surrounds batteries as that energy source. But there are so many other ways to electrify a powertrain, and I guess related to hydrogen and the infrastructure that's going to be needed to make that more mass market. How far do you think we are from building out that hydrogen infrastructure that we need?
Middle East and Europe are probably about a decade ahead of the US. I see Europe pivoting over the next 5 to 10 years. Middle East 10 to 15. US will take time.
Okay. So
energy still is relatively cheap here. I know we all hate going to the gas station today or even charge up your car. But in Europe, the price of energy is triple what it is here. So the choices that consumers make, they make choices with their wallet. And if the environment is ready for them to jump technologies, they will. And I think in that sense, Europe will be the leading point here in that transition to hydrogen. Middle East quickly following.
Okay, and what do you think it's going to take for the U.S. market, for the North American market, to embrace hydrogen in the way that those other markets will first?
Cost. It's people vote with their wallets. I think in California, when you're seeing now $7, $8 a gallon, I live in Texas, so we're at 4, 5. The pain is not high enough. Electricity is still very cheap here in the US, and I know we all hate to hear it, but it is true when you have a perspective on a global level. But hydrogen, once we get to green hydrogen from where we are today, has the potential to be a lot cheaper than what electricity or gasoline is today.
Okay, thank you. Well, it looks like we're just about out of time here, but Joost, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely fascinating discussion. I wish you and Delorean the absolute best of luck. Can't wait to see what we're going to see at Pebble Beach in just a couple of months.
All right, well, thank you all. Thank you all for having us.